I haven't seen such extreme readings at the double I sentiment survey for quite a while. The US markets kept dropping for the last 3 weeks. Well, the survey is exactly opposite, around 60% on the bearish side and around 20% on the bullish side. It has been a very good contrarian indicator. In the past, also smart money was loading up a lot. I expect a huge reversal at the US markets, and I also think Europe is catching up to the upside, not the downside. I'm gonna tell you what's happening. Let's hop into it. I start off with the DAX H1 chart JFD indication, and this is the main chart we use to determine levels, sequences, and so on. And this is a point where most people got very, very scared. Even at my blog, there was a lot of fear. And by the way, I kept buying into this entire decline for a reason, because various indicators all over the place actually didn't show me any weakness. They actually gave us opposite signals. I think this here was the final stage of a wave 4, of a so-called expanding flat, which is a very complex correction. So I kept on buying into that entire decline, and we got rid of the first positions around 23,050. I locked in over 1,300 DAX points, and I'm still holding plenty of positions because I don't think we are done to the upside. First of all, what happened here? We turned around here in our last sequence, not on the dot exactly, somewhere between the 161 and the 138. This is our min target zone. I wasn't really able to determine that zone either, but I got very strong buying signals once DAX was hitting that blue zone here on Thursday. And on Friday, I kept telling that my members gave them several trades here, which should have turned out very positive. That gave us over like 500 points to the upside. We had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buying opportunities. There was also this slightly falling bullish flag channel here shown in yellow. Came up with that on I think Thursday evening as well. And they also mentioned there is inverted shoulder head, the very time expanding right shoulder here in the making, and then it triggered right here with that powerful candle on Friday afternoon. And then we finally also triggered that green sequence we had at 22,748, and then we were just reading all the way through to hit the last target at 23,062. There's still an open magnet level at 23,150. I believe we're going to see that at the beginning of next week as well. But I have a slight different understanding what this here is. I don't think it's an ABC as many other accounts actually showing. I think it's the last impulse of the total or the big wave 3 we are in, and I'm gonna show you in a different chart where we are. If you have watched my previous update from last week, I talked about an expanding flat correction on the hourly time frame. It did not work out. Now we are looking at the H4 time frame, etc. indication, and in my point of view, we have again a very good chance to see an expanding, or we have seen an expanding flat correction. We finished wave 3 of wave 3 of wave 3 right here with that last steep push here on the 3rd, and then we had a very steep down leg into the 4th of March, which counts as leg A, and then we went all the way up to a new all-time high. In my understanding, it's a leg B, and then we came down in a 5-wave impulse, which is most of the time the finish of a 335 correction or an expanding flat. A flat correction overshoots the starting point of leg A, and then the expanding flat gets created while leg C is the longest and overshoots the length of leg A. And this is all basically what happened. That makes it a complex ABC correction as leg 4, and now we're on the final stage of that huge impulse I was showing you last week. We're gonna have a look at a different chart as well to get you a better understanding. So this here is a kickoff of the last wave 5. I'm understanding this little push here was wave 1, this here is wave 2. That's what I was showing you in the hourly chart, that flag channel. And now I believe the third wave of wave 5 has started. Should find an end somewhere around the all-time high, and then another leg 4. And before we enter that main target zone of wave 3, before we going into a larger wave 4 correction into spring. And we're going to zoom out again on the daily chart here, etc. indications, so everyone understands where we are. I believe many of you will change their accounts after they have seen that here. I still believe what I have just shown you, this is wave 3. And then we saw that sharp ABC correction as wave 4, and which is a sublink, by the way, to this one here. This one was quite easy, sharp, quick, and dirty, and this one here was just nasty moves up and downs. Typical for wave 4, by the way. It got designed to shake off most participants, so they have no clue where they are. And it created panic and fear in most views. I kept buying all these dips, and so far I've been right on that here. And then after we are having a sublink to this one here, it might be not as steep as this one. This one here was a clean impulse, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might be here an ending diagonal or even an impulse as this one. After that, I believe we're gonna see a sharp wave 4. That will be the sublink to this one. What we most of the time, what we see is after we have seen a shallow and long wave 2, there's a sharp and very steep wave 4. This one here isn't as long in time as shown, so it might be something like that for wave 4 before we start the last impulse, which will be a sublink to this one here, which started on August 5th until October 17th last year. That will be the last leg of that entire wave 3, which started on August 5th last year, and that should run much higher at DAX. Yeah, last DAX chart, this is a weekly etc. indication. Once again, I was showing that 9 count here, which started here on that 13th of January. We got the 9th candle now. We closed above that minimum requirement of 22,513 last week. We didn't make a new all-time high, so I still assume we're gonna run higher into next week, probably to test that upper boundary of that channel that runs at 23,693 next week. And by the way, if you want to join our Discord, you're welcome to sign up at jcs-charting.com. You'll find there 2 packages you can book, a basic and an advanced package. Several markets I analyze there. I give you my trading setups and much more. And another great indicator last week was the VDAX, the volatility index of the DAX. It jumped straight out of the Bollinger Bands here on Monday and Tuesday. That was another warning sign that there is a huge bounce in the making. Most people didn't want to believe it. They had so much fear and they were scared that we are dropping even further. I believe that we gotta run all the way down now into the next cycle low. There is that, let me just turn them off, that bearish Wilbur wave wedge. I don't believe we're gonna hit that target line, but we're gonna drop here into that zone into the end of March. before we see a bounce in volatility. They're going to continue with the US market, the Nasdaq. This is my Discord. You see here all these different time frames under these main channels. They are all in order with the different threads. This, for instance, here is the daily thread of the Nasdaq. And yeah, this is what I gave my members on the 9th of February. That I was assuming a larger drop into the next Astro turning date, which is around the 10th of March. That also aligns with the cycles here at the bottom. We are looking for a trend break of that red dashed line, and basically that all happened. We spiked up to a new all-time high before we turned around. Don't ask me why. I was trading exactly opposite. But yeah, we all make mistakes, but that analysis was actually spot on. Now this is a daily live indication of the Nasdaq. It's a cash indication, and here you see that bounce we saw from that last update here over that all-time high. It still was a left-hand translation. Even we had a close above that all-time high, it couldn't get established above the all-time highs from December. Then we had a quick turnaround. We broke that trend line from August. We did a nice back test here on the 26th before running much lower. And then we had that candle here on the 27th, which stopped right at that primary cycle start we had in January. And here's where that whole cycle turned bearish. We are in the middle of that Astro turning date, by the way, also in the middle of that cycle here. And we had also the price scale quite nice in that mid target zone 19,333, which matched also the 61.8 retracement of the August rally to the all-time high. So what's next? I expect that we're gonna bounce heavily from here. There's such a bearish sentiment. The upside volume is much stronger than the downside volume, especially last week, and also smart money is loading up still their positions. The entire last week they kept on buying. They made higher lows instead of lower lows like the index. So I believe we run at least here into that golden pocket of 21,049 to 21,498, and that will be the decision point. I wouldn't be surprised to run higher from there. The primary cycle, that's a different theory. That tells us because the cycle start broke, and the primary cycle usually lasts between 13 even up to 22 weeks, that we are running lower into the next months of April and May. That's the cycle theory. I still believe we're going to see at least that bounce, as I said, and then here's a decision zone where we're going to head next. And a quick look at the M15 chart. Cash indication, still a very nice bullish wave wedge here shown in blue. I was assuming already that gap up here on Friday. That didn't happen. On Thursday. We gapped down on Thursday, but then on Friday we saw that gap up. I was looking for, there's also a nice inverted shoulder head shoulder pattern in the making here. The red line is the neckline. If you want to have the targets, you're welcome to join at the block. The target line runs around 2620. The S&P cash indication, you see a weekly channel which isn't that clean, which I don't like too much, but it's such a big time frame, so we have to consider this here as the confirmation point of that channel. As I said, it's not as clean as I wish for, but that's all I have on the larger time frames at the S&P 500. And same with a wave wedge with a bullish nature here at the S&P 500. Also that inverted head shoulder pattern triggered here on Friday into the close. We have seen a very nice back test here on that upper trend line, and the target line runs at 58.59 at the beginning of next week. Last but not least, the Dow Jones. This here is a Dow theory comparing the industrials to the transportations. Last week we had a little buying signal while the industrials stayed above the lows from January, but then on Monday it broke these lows already. And so that little divergence we had here last week broke. So we were zooming out that chart and started to compare to the lows out of September and August from last year. And we have another strong buying signal, which is actually on that bigger time frame. Comparing these two lows, the transportations were breaking both lows last week, while the industrials actually stayed above these two lows, which makes it another buying signal considering the Dow theory. Yeah, last chart we look at as gold, that worked out very nice until Friday. We took that short here very nicely over 100 points, and we took also that long here for another 100 points. Since we were going for a primary cycle correction, this one here is an exception, I must say, because that decline seems to be the correction for the entire primary cycle, which is very short in time and also in price. I tried shorting here between the 138 actually 29.45 to 29, no, that was an all-time high, 29.49, and I shorted also here at 29.25 for another leg down into the next cycle of that H4 chart here. But yeah, gold was done right here, and a new primary cycle has started most likely. And we got stopped out just above the all-time high. So we missed on buying that new primary cycle. That happens, and as I said, it's an exception that they went that short. However, that was still a turning point in our astro cycles for gold. Unfortunately, yeah, we missed on buying those. Yeah, and that's about it. I hope you liked that short update. You can leave me a like or a nice comment. I'm gonna do more updates for my members on the weekend, especially on these indicators considering smart money. Very interesting positioning actually happened there. Also that order flow at DAX, which made us buying that blue zone. And yeah, I wish you all a nice remaining weekend, and I see my members on Monday. Bye bye.